Good evening. My name is Nancy Borchard, and I am the Chair of the Board of Appeals on Zoning, and I call this meeting to order. Secretary, would you please take roll?
Nancy Borchard,
Present?
Dennis Browning, excused. Christina Jones,
Present.
Deanna Versiglio,
Present.
Bruce Gale, excused. Jack Nash.
Present.
All right, Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. You have the minutes in front of you from our November 6th meeting. Do I have a motion to accept those?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed by the same sign. And you have your agenda also. May I have a motion to accept the agenda for tonight?
Move to approve.
And a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed by the same sign. The function of this board is to provide zoning flexibility. The action of the board can be an interpretation which involves an interpretation of the zoning code text or a zoning district boundary. We may also issue a variance, which is an appeal to vary from the strict application of the zoning code. The meeting is videotaped. It is important that only one person speak at a time and the audience observe respect for the speaker. When the appeal in which you are interested in is called, please come forward to the podium and allow the board a moment to review the material, after which you may give your name and address to the secretary. After the appellant's presentation, anyone interested in the appeal may come forward, give his or her name and address to the secretary. Please make your comments brief and to the point. All questions should be directed to the board and not to the appellant. The board will discuss the appeal, vote, and then continue on to the next appeal. An affirmative vote of 2/3 of the board, which is 4 votes, shall be necessary to decide in favor of an appeal. The action of the board is final and the only relief is through the court. Please be advised that use and dimensional variances expire in 6 months from the date of this meeting. Thank you. Do you have any questions? And if there are none, then the secretary will call the first appeal.
Our first appeal will be J190026, a public hearing for a variance request to decrease the amount of required building frontage at 218 South Washington Avenue. The property is currently owned by Downtown Area Development LLC. And it is a vacant property that is being used for parking by surrounding businesses. Essentially, what this variance will allow is for the building to front only 65% of the setback, which in the zoning ordinance it calls for 85%, but this will allow them to have access to the parking lot, which will be in the back of the property.
So we'll now begin the public hearing to allow people to talk about what they would like to speak about on the variance. So I see someone at the podium already. If you
Yes.
state your name and please.
Name is Nick Seoffer, architect with Shaheen Development, 1100 South Washington. I'm here to represent the project to the board here this evening. I'd like to present the project just in a quick overview and to try to give a little more background of why we are requesting the variance. The project that we're proposing to build on the interior lot, basically kind of between Spicer's and what we used to call Wally's, which I think is now Valerie's, just changed ownership, is a 3-story wood framed with masonry veneer, both brick and stone. The first floor is to house a professional service or a financial institution type function, and with 2 floors of apartments that would be above it. Each floor would have 2 apartments, so we'd have 4 new apartment dwellers basically in downtown Saginaw. The site is only 100 feet wide. It's a very small lot. It does not front but one street, so we only have one access point to get people into the to the building itself. With the downtown, I'm going to call it the Main Street, what's
Oh, the Riverfront Mixed Use District?
with the Main Street East
Yeah.
portion of it
Main Street
requires
East
that we front the
District.
building on the only road that we have. And then it also requires an 85% coverage. You cannot get traffic in and out on 15 feet. You need at least 25 feet. And currently, there is a drive located on that site that we'd like to reuse. So that is mainly why we're requesting the variance, so we can actually make this property usable for occupants and hopefully for people who will be coming to the first floor tenant.
I will mention this did go before the planning commission last week, and they approved the project, with the condition that it was approved by this board and also by engineering.
Could I ask a question?
You
You
can-
said it would have 2 apartments.
Per floor, so we would have four apartments total.
What are these gonna be, 1-bedroom apartments?
No, actually, we're big enough to be 2-bedroom apartments. They're actually quite large.
Oh, okay.
When you're at 2,500 square feet of floor, I mean, they're, about 1,100 square feet, which is a good-sized apartment for a 2-bedroom.
4-bed, okay.
And we did already approve this last week.
Pardon me?
We approved this last week when city planning approved it. Now they just need the variance for the parking because of the size of the building, the size of the lot. And I think probably most of those buildings were developed probably 1880,
Yeah.
when they didn't have cars. No, they were.
We looked it up last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but other thing about that lot, that site is a semi-historic site.
Okay.
Because that was the site of the Goodrich Brothers Photography Studio.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can talk, because I talked to the Shaheen developer. I wanted to put a historic marker there before,
Oh, okay.
but it was on their property, and I couldn't do it.
Well, we could incorporate that into the building.
If you could do some, I mean, I would like to see it, yeah, there's nothing I can say about it.
Well,
But
we're
do-
already proposing to put 6 medallions from the Michigan Works site. When we tore down that building to build Michigan Works there on Genesee, there were some very nice stone medallions, about 30 inches wide and they're a good size, and we actually salvaged them, and they're in one of our yards, and I plan on putting them on the facade of this building.
Yeah, most of the history of the lumber era, a lot of the history of the lumber era was photographed by the Goodrich Brothers, which were
Wow, that's good to know.
two black photographers that are in the area around, they left probably about 1910.
Yeah, the Founders Building, which is the new apartment building that we just got done doing on the other side of the river, we found out that was kind of where all the steering gear started, was right on that site. So we actually kind of incorporated,
Jackson Wilcox?
Mhm.
Yep. So I would, if you could.
we're all
if you-
for that.
Yeah, if you could, I mean, just do a Google on the Goodrich
Yep.
Brothers. I mean, if you just go to the Saginaw Museum, they got a whole room dedicated to them.
Okay.
And you will see, I think their offices were 218 to 222. That was their last office in
Okay.
Saginaw.
That would be right in the middle of our
Yeah,
site.
it was right
Yep.
there. It
Yep.
was definitely right there.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment on the variance request? Last time for a chance. Anybody else would like to comment on the variance request? Okay, then this public hearing is closed for this request. So, do you want, anybody have anything to discuss, or are we good?
I don't have anything.
If you have to make a motion. Somebody's got a motion.
Accept, right? But, are we
Then we
good?
go into that.
So we need a motion then to accept the variance request to decrease the amount of required building frontage at 218 South Washington Avenue. So, do
I
I
make
have-
the motion that we do that.
okay, thank you, and do I have a second?
I have a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed by the same sign.
Oh, no, we should have a discussion.
Okay. Do you need to
I was only
discuss?
say for the hardship, well, we need to have a hardship for this.
Okay.
And the hardship would be when these were developed these buildings were not developed for cars. So he's got his new building, and I think he should just be able to go on the same footprint that was up before.
I don't know what he's saying.
I really can't hear what you're saying.
Oh, I'm just saying that we have to have a hardship for why, you just can't say they have a variance of hardship. I'm saying that when these buildings were developed, there were no cars, so, and they want to stay kind of in the historic nature,
Oh, okay.
so you don't need all those parking places.
Okay.
Yep.
So we,
Yep,
all right.
okay.
Red.
The president or whatever.
Thank you.
Anywhere?
He's saying that they're believing it or not.
Oh, that's a shame. Okay, I'm glad I asked. I would have signed right on top of him.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Secretary, would you read the second request, please?
Okay. The second public hearing is for project J190027. It is a public hearing for a variance request to increase the height allowance for a garage at 405 Superior Street. The property is a residential area off of M46. This variance would allow the garage to be built a foot and 10 inches and a half higher than it generally is allowed in the zoning ordinance for a R1 district.
Okay. So the public hearing on this variance request will begin. Is there anyone that would like to comment on this case?
Yes, me?
Please, yes, step to the podium, please.
My name is Rod Arnst. I'm owner of the property with my sister Bonnie. I have some handouts. I don't know if Cassie has given you all these. Do you? Okay. I enclosed also, let me give you these just because there's a picture in front which might help. Look at what you have.
I think it is.
Thank you.
I should first comment that I grew up on Main and Wheeler about 5 blocks from here, and this house was in the end of my paper route. So I wanted it since I was 11, and actually, because I knew it says Dr. App's house. And when I bought it, I actually didn't go in it because I knew it needed work, but didn't realize how much work. But we had a fire 4 years ago and been redoing it, and I wanted to put a garage in back, and so we have the pad which has been put in a couple years ago for this, but in finishing the house, now ready to kind of put up the garage. I enclosed a picture here of kind of just not the plan, but the design effect of what I kind of want it to look like. Because it's a large structure, I didn't want it to look like a pole barn, because I got to live with it. You know, and I don't think the neighbors would like it, although it is kind of hidden. So the property back here shows the big lot, so it's going to be in the dark corner here. And I have about 20 foot already from the fences, so I think I'm fine there. It's an 1.5 acre lot, so it supports it. And then the diagrams that we put together show what it's kind of going to look like. So I don't know if this matters, but because of, I call it a French roof, on this one, which is the east elevation, there's really about 10 foot of it, which exceeds the height variance. The rest is, it's gonna be 4 sloped roof sides. So it's just that kind of center part that, you know, exceeds there. And the reason I wanted to do that is, in this diagram, which is a little more delicate, the hyphenated or the dotted line shows the accepted roof level, my understanding. And then the box that is hyphenated or dotted would show the interior space. The reason I want to height is because if you look where it says ceiling color tie joist, that can be my new ceiling, and I basically have an 8-foot ceiling that is more usable space upstairs for storage, and just might stick a train set or whatever the case is up there. So that's the whole point of just not having like a crawl space or an attic basically, but just having more usable space up there. So then these two design elements, I wanted to make it look like it was less of a garage and more architecturally pleasing to the house. So that's kind of what my thought was in asking for the height variance. So I can elaborate at any point, any other questions on that standpoint.
I was going to ask about the loft that was described in the picture but Cassie said that she had asked you about it.
Oh, from this
And that you
picture?
weren't going to finish it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, this is a plan where I think they say the loft includes a bathroom, bedroom. This is just architecturally, I'm kind of copying the dormers. So this was a picture that, you know, proportionally I wanted to kind of look at. But no, there's no plans for a bedroom or a bathroom or, you know, if that's your question, anything like that.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, it would be drywall finished probably, but not, you know, living finished.
All right.
Okay, this-
Thank you.
This is a question for staff. Did you get any communication from the neighbors at all? Was everybody notified?
Yes, and I got a phone call from one neighbor. Deanna's actually one of the neighbors who got a notification also, but one other neighbor, just asked about the project and then said that they had no issues with it.
Okay.
Well, one of the neighbors are the ones that asked me about the finished loft and wondered what the plan was for it. And
Yeah.
so that's why I asked about it.
Yeah, because you live down the street, no,
Sure.
on Vernon,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
I
yeah.
do.
Is that the last house, the last big house on the street?
Yes, yeah, so going north is my mother's house, 325, and then the old Sarge Harvey house, which Webster is in, that's towards Gratiot. This is the last big house on the end, so going south towards West Michigan, it's the last big house.
Really? How many years, I looked at that house before,
Yeah,
way back when it was for sale the first time.
oh, 93?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Then you had the big rabbits in the bedroom, the wallpaper.
well, that was Dr. Cavendish, Mrs. Cavendish liked to, she'd get, 2 o'clock in the morning, she would start painting
Yeah.
things.
I remember the rabbits. That was weird.
Yeah,
See,
yeah, it was interesting.
Well, it's a lovely home, and what you have outlined here should look very nice.
So it'll be for storage then, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a car, right, you know, and it's just, I come from a family of organized hoarders. Nice way of saying it, you know, so, we don't say Burger King wrappers, but I have my grandpa's chest he brought over from Russia in 1912, and, you know, the couch when I was born, my mother, no one could sit on it, you know, so we have stuff, and no one seems to have enough room, you know, so.
this is another question for staff. What the dimensions of the height of the garage, is this for the entire city?
Yes, it's for R1 properties,
Oh,
so
R1.
R1 zoned properties.
Okay.
So I have a question too, and just the gentleman mentioned to me, and, you know, I'm kind of being new at this. And not when we're leaning, and obviously I'd like to get approval, but I know we need a majority of 4. So does it matter, there are 6 members?
You have to have 4.
And so there's 4 here, so I'd have to have all of you. If there were one that said no, but there were 6 here, I might get 4. So I guess I'm asking just casually here, how to proceed, because I did approval, I mean,
You have to have 4 positive, everybody has to say yes.
right, okay. So should I wait to talk to all the 6 of you, or 4, I mean,
It's only 4 of us here.
well, I know, but
You only
I,
need 4.
You don't need 4, but he's saying,
but I'm saying if there were 6 and 1 said no, maybe 5 would say yes, and,
There are
that's.
not 6 here. Why you question?
What's that?
what he's saying is, he knows that he's got to have everybody say yes. And if you were in Vegas, you would want 6 people here in case one.
More of a chance of having 5, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I don't mean insulting, but I just want,
This is a very beautiful design. It looks like a house.
well, kind of, and, I think this is the prettiest house in town, so that's why I liked it since I was 11.
This is the garage, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, right,
I don't know
so,
what
I
the
mean,
house
we
looks
added, we call it conservatory in the back. We added like 1,000 square feet. It's a beautiful, I got a picture on my phone, but it's a beautiful room. So I didn't want just a garage, didn't want a plain, my sister wouldn't put up with it. So I'm trying to make it look like it's, I mean, it's kind of weird because it's big, I understand, but, stealthy, that it looks a little elegant, and it's got some lamps on the side and stuff like that. So that's,
Yep.
Okay,
That's
I
my
only
thought.
have one question. It's for you. You just said that this is the format for the entire city.
Correct.
This height variance.
Yes, for
Okay.
all properties zoned R1.
R1, yeah, okay. If someone else came to us and wanted to do this, and it would exceed the limits, what would it depend on, as far as approval? The design, the structure, what it's gonna look like, or?
Everyone's, that's for you, I would say.
Well, it's each based on your individual, on the individual situation, really, and each
Well,
person's
I'm trying to find
hardship.
out what the basis is.
We've got it.
Is it the design? Is it how it's gonna look, or?
Individual, because you run into you can run into situations where, like Cassie could have a house, and it's sitting there a long time, and all of a sudden her garage falls down. Then she tries to build it the same with some of the new ordinances. That would be too high. She would have to bring it back down to the new ordinances. Was there ever a garage at that house before?
no. Well, no, there's no, there's a garage attached to the house, but no outbuilding.
Oh, so this is considered an outbuilding?
Well, it's
It's
a,
not
it's a detached, it'll be in the back,
Yeah.
so not sure the right term, but it's not obviously attached to the house, so,
Yeah,
But there is a single-car garage right now at the end
Yeah.
of the home.
yeah. It's a 1939, so it's real short, and, yeah.
so this is a good question.
Well, yeah, I don't want other people to come before us and we say no, and if we say no, what are we basing it on?
Right.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna get, we have to have a variance, we have to have a reason to say yes or no. I was gonna ask,
Okay.
I'm just gonna say, okay, with this situation though, is this a garage, or is this an accessory building?
It'd be an accessory building,
So-
which a garage can also be considered an accessory
So with an
building.
accessory building, does it go by the same heights like you're saying here, is that different? 'Cause
This is for the accessory buildings.
So that's for accessory buildings too, the height.
So it's different for a garage?
A detached garage is considered an accessory building
What's
because
that?
it is not attached to the house. If it's attached to the house, it's just part of the house.
So what are your staff say?
Well, I just wanted to comment too, that that's a very good question. But if you look at the architecture of the house and the surrounding neighborhood, I think that that is a standard that you could use for everyone in R1, is that if there's a portion of it that's, slightly higher than the normal requirement, but it meets architectural standards, then
So a lot
that would be
depends on
acceptable.
what's surrounding this.
Yeah, I would say so. It's similar to the form-based zoning that's in the downtown, that you have to, you are required to have in the area that the previous variance was submitted, you have to have 3 stories. It has to fit within the architecture of the downtown, and I think appropriately in residential districts, you'd kind of want to have that as well.
A good example, just to look at, is you look at the house where across the street, the big mansion there.
The home.
He has 2 accessory garages, technically. And his second one he built was under these guidelines, supposedly. But the way we looked at it, you already had 10 feet down that you can't see, so you really only see in the top. So what people are seeing is only within code.
The main thing is for it not to be an eyesore, possibly. No,
But that-
that's-
And part of it was, now, I mean, the streets down here where like the Montague and stuff are, those old houses had, now, I think they lived on top, the servants did, but carriage houses that looked kind of, I mean, it was the carriages, the garages at the time, before cars. So that was kind of my thought too, is like, you know, if you can't have a garage bigger than your house and a pole barn, I don't want to do, but if architecturally it looks like it could have fit in that, you know, 1939 period, I've tried to keep true to the house. That's kind of what, you know, jotted that. It's like, oh, you know, maybe I can have something that, you know, fits proportionally. Now, obviously, it's a big garage and the house can support it, but I don't think you could build this, you know, on a 1-story ranch, you know, you know, I mean, it's not gonna fly. So that was, again, architecturally what I was trying to go after.
So the design is important and what's surrounding it.
To me, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, and the other thing too is because of the size, and again, being a hoarders, you know, if I could build this smaller, but then I have less space, so it's kind of like the wider I went, the higher I gotta go to keep the proportions, otherwise it looks like it's a pancake, you know, I mean,
So this
that-
is gonna be case by case, there's no blanket
No.
decision. Okay, all right. I'm
Exactly.
satisfied.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
for the information. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this issue? And lastly, last chance, anybody else that would like to comment? Then this part of the public hearing is now closed. So, do you have any discussion?
Need a
Would you
motion.
like
Need a
to-
motion to approve this first, then go discussion.
So we'll need a motion then to approve the variance request to increase the maximum height requirement.
I make a motion to approve
For a
the
garage.
request for this
Is there a
variance.
second?
Yeah, just when you do that, I mean, not to be technical, just read off the number of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, I have to find the number here. And you said you didn't want to be technical? I got my paper. Okay, Mr. Ernst, where's the number on this?
Where is the number on
It's
this?
right here. This is the one you want. The J190027.
Okay, for variance J190027, I make a motion that we approve the variance.
Support. No discussion.
Now, is there discussion on that before we vote then?
I
Do
think
you have anything?
architecturally, this, in that area is very different than all the other, many of the R1 areas in the city, because those are basically mini mansions down that street. They're not like over when you get down to the Rodarty houses in the south end. All these houses are excess of probably, what, 3,000, 5,000 square feet down that street?
Yeah, this one is 45, now it's 55, but
Yeah.
one next door is 3,500, so.
I don't think the zoning code is, but that's my opinion. For this, I think for this particular block, this accessory or garage would actually look too small if it wasn't for this height.
You're not talking
With
about
the size of
Superior
the
Street.
home.
Yeah,
You're
Superior.
talking about Superior?
Yeah, all these streets, all the houses on there are
My
extreme.
daughter lived on Superior, 312, and she didn't have a mansion. So I didn't know if you were talking about Superior or the street, the cross street.
No, Superior, it's right down there. it's the last big house going south. I mean, it's a huge house.
It is, yeah.
Mixed use
It's
house.
a lovely home, and that's what I had mentioned before, what you are planning will fit very nicely to go with the home that you are living in, so. Any other discussion before we vote? Okay, so all in favor of granting this variance request, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed by the same sign. So the motion passes, and you are good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys want to find help in hammer?
No, but we might drive by in another year or so and see how you're doing
What's
with
that
it.
gentleman's name?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know who that is.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
he's not part of this.
Well, I don't know. Could we be introduced to the guy?
Oh, yeah.
Cassie, does this have to go before planning or is it just done now?
No, this one's done.
Okay.
It's residential.
Done that, Cassie?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
See, you
Good
didn't
night.
need 6 of us after all.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item under the new business is the approval of the 2020 meeting calendar, which you were sent. Is there discussion on that?
I'll just,
I do want to mention I sent it out with 2018 on all, or 2019 on all of them, so I put it on at your seat again.
I didn't get a 2020 calendar in the packet.
Oh, okay. I put it at your seat today.
Oh, okay.
have to make, okay, move to approve.
I have an extra one if you don't have one.
We have to move, we have to have approval on this, Cassie?
Yes.
So move to approve the agenda for 2020.
Second by anyone?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed by the same sign. We're on to old business. Does anybody have anything for that? Public comments? Public to come out. And finally, adjournment. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.